Chapter 1. The Illusion of Scarcity. The air in the London vault is cold, stagnant. It's the late 1930s, the heavy steel door is locked, and inside, sitting in the dark, are thousands of tiny glittering stones. They are beautiful. And they are completely, utterly worthless. A few thousand miles away, in a wood-paneled boardroom, the executives of the De Beers cartel are sweating. For decades, they have maintained a delicate illusion. They controlled the diamond mines in South Africa. They controlled the ships. They controlled the global supply. But the Great Depression has shattered the world economy. The wealthy have stopped buying. The middle class couldn't care less. Diamonds are, after all, just pieces of pressurized carbon. They don't keep you warm. They don't feed your family. In a collapsing world, a shiny rock is the very first thing people stop buying. The men in the boardroom look at the numbers. Prices are plummeting. The market is drowning in surplus. If the price drops any further, the public will realize the uncomfortable truth. Diamonds are not actually rare. The earth is full of them. If the illusion of scarcity breaks, the entire De Beers empire collapses overnight. They realize they cannot just restrict the supply anymore. They need something much more powerful. They need to control human desire. But how do you convince a struggling world to spend a fortune on a completely useless stone? You don't sell the stone. You sell the one thing people are terrified of losing. Chapter 2. The Architects of Emotion. It's 1938. The thick smoke of unfiltered cigarettes fills a meeting room at N.W. Ayer & Son, one of the most prestigious advertising agencies in New York. The men sitting around this table are not jewelers. They are psychologists. They are engineers of human behavior. De Beers has quietly hired them to solve their survival problem. The executives at N.W. Ayer start doing something radical. They don't look at the product. They look at the culture. They study how young Americans date, how they court each other, how they get married. At this point in history, only about 10% of engagement rings contain a diamond. People propose with rubies, sapphires, or simple gold bands. A diamond is seen as an unnecessary extravagance reserved for the ultra-wealthy. The agency realizes they have to change the fundamental grammar of marriage itself. They need to create a social imperative, a rule so deeply embedded in the culture that to break it feels like a failure of devotion. They begin a silent, invisible campaign. They don't buy traditional advertisements. They buy influence. They place diamonds on the fingers of Hollywood actresses. They pay fashion designers to talk about them favorably on the radio. They even send lecturers into high schools across the United States. Imagine that. A smartly dressed woman standing in front of a classroom of teenage girls, casually explaining what a proper engagement looks like, planting the seed, setting the expectation years before any boy ever gets down on one knee. The strategy is brilliant, but it has a fatal flaw. If people buy diamonds and then resell them when times get tough, the market will flood. Prices will crash again. De Beers doesn't just need people to buy diamonds. They need people to keep them, forever. They need a lock on the human mind. Chapter 3. 4 Words in the Dark. It is late in the evening in 1947. The N.W. Ayer office is mostly empty. The typewriters have stopped clacking. At a desk sits Frances Garrity. She is a 31-year-old copywriter. She is exhausted. She is staring at a blank piece of paper, trying to find a hook for the new De Beers campaign. She needs something that makes a diamond feel essential. Something that stops people from treating it like a commodity that can be traded or pawned. She scribbles something down. She looks at it. She isn't even sure if it makes grammatical sense. She writes, "A diamond is forever." Those 4 words are not poetry. They are a weaponized psychological trap. Garrity has just invented sympathetic magic for the modern age. She has taken the physical property of a rock, its indestructible hardness, and seamlessly transferred it to the most fragile thing in the world, love. Think about the invisible logic of those 4 words. If a diamond is forever, then your love is forever. But if you give anything less than a diamond, what are you saying about your commitment? Are you expecting it to break? Are you doubting the relationship? Suddenly, the diamond is no longer a rock. It is a test of seriousness, a test of devotion. And crucially, it solves the De Beers survival problem. Because if a diamond represents eternal love, you can never sell it. To pawn your diamond ring is to admit that the love is dead. It is a moral failure. With 4 words, Frances Garrity destroys the secondary market for diamonds. She convinces the public to voluntarily lock their wealth away in jewelry boxes, never to be sold again. The trap is set. Now it just needs to be tightened. Chapter 1. The manufactured metric. Walk into a suburban American home in the mid-1950s. A young man is sitting at his kitchen table, looking at his bank book. He is sweating. He wants to propose to his girlfriend, but he is terrified. He doesn't know how much he is supposed to spend. De Beers knows this anxiety exists, and they know exactly how to exploit it. They introduce a new concept into the cultural bloodstream, a completely fabricated benchmark, the 2-month salary rule. There is no historical precedent for this. There is no economic logic behind it. It is simply a number pulled out of thin air by advertising executives in an office. But it is stated with such authority, repeated so often in magazines and on television, that it becomes unquestioned law. The psychological pressure is immense. The company has successfully convinced the young woman that she deserves it, that her friends will judge her based on the size of the stone, and they have convinced the young man that his worth as a provider, his masculinity, is directly tied to his willingness to empty his savings account. We don't believe what is true. We believe what is rewarding. The women are rewarded with social status. The men are rewarded with acceptance. Every time a woman flashes her ring to her friends, she is doing unpaid marketing for De Beers. The social fact reinforces itself. The illusion becomes reality. By 1990, 80% of engagement rings will contain a diamond. An entire generation is following a script written by a cartel, and they think it was their own idea. Chapter 5. The Lingering Shadow. Stand outside any jewelry store in a major city today. Watch the couples walking in, the nervous men, the expectant women. Listen to the language they use. They talk about cut, color, clarity, and carat. The 4 C's, another educational metric entirely invented by N.W. Ayer to make men feel like they are making a rational, informed investment rather than an emotional surrender. The names on the advertising campaigns have changed. The styles have evolved, but the underlying machinery is exactly the same. The incentive to package a deeply abundant resource as a rare necessity, to chase astronomical profit by manipulating the human fear of losing love. That machinery was never dismantled. The uncomfortable truth about the diamond industry is not that a monopoly controlled a market. The truly terrifying realization is how easily the human mind can be programmed. We believe our traditions are ancient. We believe our desires are our own, but our most intimate moments, the way we propose, the way we show love, the financial sacrifices we make, were designed in a boardroom. The lights are still on in the diamond exchanges of the world. The stones are still being polished, and somewhere, a young man is looking at a price tag that terrifies him, preparing to buy a piece of carbon, not because it has any intrinsic value, but because a copywriter working late in 1947 decided that he should.